welcome to the Social World podcast again. Hello, I'm Dave Niven. Now, as was just happening in the last podcast, I was mentioning that I've been invited onto the International Advisory Board of the Global Institute for Social Work. It has its base in Singapore, but really it's a virtual resource and it's worldwide. So I just thought that it would be a good idea to interview the chairman of the board again, Professor Tan Tiong. So let's have that. But after that, I'm also going to have you listen to a couple of interviews I did on the BBC to do with two particularly topical subjects to do with safeguarding young people. Wow. Do you realise, Chong, that it's been 2 years nearly since we did our initial interview, and recently there has been a development, I know, and I'm absolutely delighted that you've invited me to be part of the International Advisory Board, and I'm looking forward to working with you and colleagues. But there must have been a lot of water under the bridge since these 2 years have gone by with the Global Institute. Would you like to just give a quick summary of where you see the Institute's at the moment?
Well, first, thank you, David, for being able to serve on the International Advisory Board. We really have a big range of expertise and people who are committed to social work and social work training all over the world. Since 2 years ago, we have now developed training portals, and we have cited it, believe it or not, in the US. And we are running the Global Institute in a virtual platform on teachable.com. So it'll be the GISW at teachable.com.
I'll put all that into the actual text in front of the podcast as well for people to refer to as well.
Sure. And so the vision of the Global Institute remains the same. That is to deliver quality social work training to those who need it most. And basically wanting social work training, social work education, continuing professional development to be accessible, to be affordable, to be appropriate, to be timely. So GISW basically makes readily available training online to those, especially countries who don't have access to formal education or to be trained in specific fields of social work.
I have this vision that a social worker sitting in one of the countries you mentioned there could eventually, if they wanted, access the GISW website, sign on, become involved and get information, advice, representation, watch a video, read a blog, listen to an article read out by the author or whatever, and have a library, if you like, a virtual library that covers the globe. Does that fit your dream?
Yep, it is indeed. We live in a very different world today. It's very globalized. It's with modern technology. We find that GISW has to ride on the service delivery platform online that is providing continuing education. So the virtual platform is operational 24/7. It ensures timely, useful knowledge to be transferred, to be accessible, and people can use it in whichever way they can, but they have to adapt it to their situation. And I hope in that the philosophy is that we can help improve human conditions and make the world a more just and more fair place to live.
No, that sounds admirable. I mean, but I think we've also got to point out that this is not just a kind of a platform for anybody that wants to sort of say whatever. This is a quality of training, and there's the rigorous review process as well of the material submitted, and the board is appointed to develop policy as well. We're not just talking about, if you like, a shop where anybody can put anything on a shelf. We're talking about quality material.
Hopefully, we would like to have all kinds of different levels of training, but you are right. We have to assess it, edit it, and if it passes the review, then we can put it across to the audience. The main thing is that it has to be practice focused, it has to be culturally appropriate, and it has to have quality in terms of sound and video material and content. So we actually like to have collaboration with all different institutions, whether it is government, NGOs, whether it is with the university or training institutes, with professional associations. And we try to work together with common agenda and mission, which is to bring social work training to a new level, to be competent and to be knowledgeable about the different fields. And so we have in our agenda also collaboration with specific training institutes to run social work in different fields. So right now it's a very, very open forum. People sign on, and we do not check whether you are a social worker, whether you're licensed, but anyone who can find use for this material can access it for free for now.
I think that's an important point. It's free, isn't it?
Yes. It's free in that my belief is that social work knowledge should be universal, should be available. And if you cannot pay for it, we will, in time to come, if there's a small fee that is charged, we could provide scholarships for this. So in time to come, there must be a sustainable model. And when we begin to offer perhaps certificates or trying to stack the programs in a way that will be more systematic in the syllabus, then we will have to charge a fee. But right now, as you say, it's open to all.
Now, I know and you know, and we've talked about this before, that social work does mean different things to different people across the globe, if you like. You know, it does vary from continent to continent, whereas and some places focus more on individuals and families, and others focus more on community activity. Is there a reasonably, would you say, easy way to navigate the if you like, the library of the institute, or the availability of material in the institute to suit the different regional requirements?
Well, right now it is accessible to everyone. So we do not say market it to a specific segment of society. But in time to come, I would like to have, say, Vietnam will have its own training site. And so there will be greater applicability to a certain language or cultural context.
That's very interesting, yes. Do you see that developing with other countries as well?
Yes. So it is already in the happening, in that we do have material in Vietnamese that we are editing and putting online. And I like, for example, Russian social workers to take responsibility and take control over the space, take over to make it really relevant to their own context. And for that matter, Spanish-speaking courses or French or other languages. So we will first go on the route of universal language of English, but we do have already material in Chinese, in Vietnamese, in Thai, and we would in the very near future, provide specific channels whereby this material can be accessed within the specific cultural context.
I mean, these days anyway, I mean, translation is much easier online than it ever was. Although obviously it's nice to have languages, that speak to the individual social workers, themselves. But there is, I mean, I read material from other countries not in English and just translate them. And these days the translation is quite professional.
That's right. And we will use technology in that way. At least we could have subtitles that could be digitalized. And we can also use Google Translate and other mechanisms.
Do you have, there's a mixture, aren't there, of kind of video presentations as well as written material. Are you finding that more people are submitting video presentations now?
You're right. The main medium now is video, and also we have PowerPoint and other visual aids. But it'll be good to have, like what you have, podcast material, audio, and also written material. So we may go into another aspect of the training, which is providing resources and readings and books. That is a way maybe in the future.
Well, the future is something that I know is very dear to your heart, if you like. You and I have talked about it. I know you're organising, I hope, an event about looking at the next 10 years of social work and how it's going to develop and what it's going to look like, because the world is moving at such a speed these days and social work is beginning to accelerate in terms of the use of technology as well. This sounded to me like something that was very exciting to you. Would that be fair?
Yes, we are planning our 5th anniversary seminar to be online, and we will be asking from our advisory board, and that includes you, David, and you will share with us what your vision of social work in the next 10, 20 years is going to be, and the future in terms of the training and use of technology to spearhead the development of social work for a more inclusive, more just, and more fair world.
A very good aspiration. You've just appointed, haven't you, a chief executive to support the actual structure of the Global Institute. Is that right?
Yes, we do have an executive director, and Vernon resides in the U.S. But he is doing it out of the labor of love.
Yes, I know.
There is no pay. We use actually volunteers throughout our approaches, and there are pluses in that people can have a commitment to develop material, and the courses that are mounted are volunteered instructors and facilitators, and the people who are editing it back end as well as reviewing it are all doing it on a voluntary basis. But in time to come, I hope we will have a good technical support team, and we will have full-time staff. And certainly, if there are people who are interested to volunteer or to support, they are most welcome to get into our website and let us know.
That's what I was hoping you would say. I just wanted you to give a shout out for more people to try and give some time and get involved, because it's a wonderful idea. What about the geography of things, Tiong? Because obviously you're based in Singapore, and you've got a pretty intimate knowledge of, say, the Pacific Rim and all the countries around there. And I know America is reasonably heavily involved, as is Russia, etc. But which parts of the world would you say you would encourage more interest from, if we could?
Well, I would particularly focus on the developing world. Mm-hmm. We do have requests from as far as Azerbaijan, Armenia, and also places in India and Latin America. I really hope in Africa we can grow a good following and people who can find it useful, as well as in Latin America. So I am putting effort to seeing how we can customize some of these courses to meet the needs of people in Latin America as well as in Africa. And if you know of anyone or anyone listening to this have interest to work together, we would be happy to get in touch.
I'm working on it. Don't worry. Okay. Listen, just perhaps finally, but I mean, of these, perhaps the soon-to-be part of the GISW, the places you've mentioned, but also, maintaining the kind of interest in current countries that are involved so far. I mean, what sort of message would you like to give out to social workers as to why you think that GISW is a beacon for the future and very, very valuable?
Well, we believe that social work is a key instrument for social transformation and change, whether at the individual, at the group, at the family, at the community level, or at the policy and research angle. So we need people who are informed, people who are competent, and people who are knowledgeable to share their expertise so that we can all level up to be able to be instruments of change and be sharper in our practice, in our approach, in our strategy. And I see the world as a community coming together so that we can help each other and develop a stronger mandate for social work and the contribution of social workers.
No, that's very, very admirable. Well, look, just as a final thing, I'm going to give a shout out. I will put it in the text, but if people want to go to a dedicated portal for course building, it's gisw.teachable.com. And if they want to submit training courses to sit with the GISW for anybody's use to spread their knowledge, it's submit@thegisw.org. I'll put all these on the podcast text as well, but I think for now we're going, I'm going to say this definitely, we're going to revisit this quite frequently, and I'm possibly talking with colleagues on the advisory board and others who already have seen the benefit of GISW. So for now, Tiong, very many thanks, but I will be coming back to you in the not too distant future.
That's great. And do visit our website, thegisw.org. And we really look forward to the contribution of not only yourself, but like-minded people who are fervent for the cause of social work and social change and bringing the world closer together in a better world, hopefully.
Well said. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, David.
Now I'd like to let you hear these two interviews that I gave in the last week or so. Firstly, a historic case of abuse where a couple have been found guilty of historic abuse of young people in Wales, with troublesome allegations that further evidence has either been destroyed by mistake or deliberately, with calls for independent investigation. I mean, people said this is the Fred and Rose West of Wales, but I don't think it's necessarily on that scale, but certainly, there's a lot of bad practice going on, and there's a lot being uncovered now, and other alleged victims are coming forward to talk.
David Niven is a child protection expert and a chairman of a Safeguarding Children board in the north of England. Good morning.
Morning, Oliver.
Well, let me ask you first of all, David, about this case and the difficulties in investigating and prosecuting a case which is so historic. I mean, some of these cases go back 30 plus years.
Always problematic. There are some good things here. The first thing is that they're actually being confronted and they're actually being convicted, and people are realizing that even after this length of time, their crimes can't go unpunished. The issue, though, for me about the victims is very interesting, because obviously there's going to be quite a controversy here as the victims are coming forward and actually saying that they said things at the time, other people were involved, other victims are apparently involved, according to the woman who was involved today. I mean, this is quite complicated, but I really, really do hope that the authorities, the investigative authorities and the police, and they challenge this and they actually get stuck in and have a really good look, because you just can't let things like that lie.
When someone says, though, I think or I'm sure that there were police officers present at such and such, on such and such an occasion, without names, without identities, it must be almost impossible to unravel that.
Well, it sounds like it, doesn't it? I believe that there's also talk that the evidence was, any evidence that this person gave was actually lost. Material evidence, not just verbal evidence, but material evidence was lost, whether it was a police station move or an accident or just time lost it or whatever. I think that's going to be the impossibility, and we're going to end up with a he said, she said situation. And not even having names of anybody who allegedly was involved in it makes it incredibly difficult.
What would normal procedure be with regards to evidence? I mean, if the police looked into something, decided there was no case to answer, how long would they hold that evidence for usually?
I think it varies, to be honest with you. Usually records are kept for, decades. But sometimes if somebody just comes forward and says something, and it isn't proven and there's nothing to corroborate it, it would just disappear. But can I say one thing at the moment? I really do hope that the good things that come out of this are that show that anybody who is still suffering, anybody who was abused back in the day, 30, 40 years ago even, and who's had to live with it, who lost a childhood, who has actually had trauma since, who has had relationship problems and goodness knows what else since, actually can see that there will be a mature and sophisticated approach to them, and that people will take them seriously. I'm not saying just believe them just because they say so, but actually will take them seriously and investigate it properly.
And sorry, David, just to interrupt you because we're short of time, it wouldn't be unheard of, would it, for another police force to be brought in if someone decided that there were grounds for an investigation as to whether there was either A, police involvement or police officers involved in any offences, or also whether evidence had gone missing and there was something to be investigated about that. That wouldn't be unheard of for another force to be brought in to look at that.
No, and probably a good idea in this case, I would have said. This is exactly the kind of thing that a peer, or a neighbouring force or somebody like that actually should become involved with, to show transparency. That's the important thing, and actually let the victims believe that whatever the outcome, they got a fair hearing.
David, thank you so much. David Niven there, who's a child protection expert, a chairman of a Safeguarding Children board in the north of England.
Secondly, an interview with in Herefordshire with a perennial problem where the closure of residential units has provoked a range of discussion, looking at it being due to either austerity and resource deficit or targeting resources towards preventative measures. It depends what particular way that people are talking about this. But as I said, it's a perennial problem. It's something we've visited so many times in the past, and you're never quite sure whether it's a case of local authorities actually having to face up to cuts at such a savage level that it affects children's safeguarding. They have to cut libraries, they have to cut road clearance, they have to cut refuse collection, goodness knows what else, other public services, and that hugely impacts, but they've never really gone so deep into children's services in the past, but many other authorities are having to consider that now. It really is quite up against the wall. So, here we go.
Let's bring in David Niven, child protection expert, former chair of the British Association of Social Workers. He also runs a podcast called socialworldpodcast.com. David, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hello.
Tell us, do changes like this ever work?
Well, I mean, yes, it can work. But at the same time, it's fraught with quite a few pitfalls. And the problem is we're not just talking about widgets, we're talking about children's lives. And so it's a very delicate situation. Now, I understand from listening to your interview there that the local authority have said that it's not a money issue, it's to do with quality of care for the children. Well, maybe. I mean, there was this, about 10, 15 years ago, there was a massive closure of residential homes all up and down the country on the basis that fostering was better and get children into families and give them a better quality of life. Well, in many cases that works, but there always are some young people, some children who, for whatever reason, respond better in a residential situation. And I really hope that there's enough beds, as your last interviewee was talking about, there's enough beds actually to fulfill that if a child is assessed or a young person is assessed to actually thrive better in that kind of environment.
And then you mentioned pitfalls here, and just explain what other things could be described, as you say, as a pitfall to this.
Well, logic has always dictated, and as well as evidence has always dictated, that the more changes there are in a child's life, the more disruptions, the more problems that young person is likely to carry forward into adulthood. And so if these young people have already had one or two placements, or even more in many cases, placements, whether it's foster homes, whether it's residential homes or whatever, in and out of care from their family, another enforced change after settling for a while in a particular place with a group of staff who have cared for them could well have a kind of a drip, drip, drip sort of effect on their whole psyche and their ability to cope and their ability to become rounded adults and so forth. And it's just dangerous if you just keep changing where a child lives.
Thank you, David. David Niven, child protection expert, former chair of the British Association of Social Workers.
Well, that was that. Thank you all very much for listening. Please give me your feedback. SpeakPipe is that facility on the podcast where you can just do one click and leave me a voice message, either telling me what you think about the items that we've covered today in the magazine, or giving me some ideas for things and stories that you think need coverage and need further exposure. Really looking forward to hearing from you again, so keep them coming. See you soon. Thanks.